fear and uncertainty. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Monday, July 6 reveals Patty Williams, Stacey Hayduke, will point the finger at Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters. Also coming up, Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, will be rushed to the hospital. Plus, Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, and Matt Clark, Roger Howarth, will bond. And Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, will rile up Sienna Bacall, Tamara Braun. YNR spoilers tease Phyllis and Matt will head to Crimson Lights for a late-night coffee. Matt will thank her for helping him out with Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn. So Phyllis will ask why Victor Newman's Eric Braeden making him be friends with Kane. YNR Daily Scoop, Matt says her hotness clouds his judgment. Matt will lie and say he's new in town and needs to make new friends. Kane is not going to be the guy to help you, Phyllis will reply. She'll tell him she knows that's not who he is. Obviously Victor's behind this. Matt will ask if she thinks he should turn to her, instead of Kane, for friendship. Then he'll suggest they go to the shadow room. At the shadow room, Sienna will make a face when she sees Audra walk in. She'll start looking around for Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, and Sienna will say she hates to disappoint her, but he's not there. She'll also remind her rival she's not his girlfriend. For now, Audra will reply. She'll be surprised Noah would take a night off so soon after opening. Unless he can't stand you and wants to take a night off from you. But Sienna will tell her there was a family medical issue, which is why he's not there. Then Audra will spot Noah. Audra will say she heard there was a medical emergency and he'll tell her it was his grandma but she's okay. Then Matt and Phyllis will arrive and Noah will freak and ask what they're doing there. Matt will promise he's not going to be any trouble. How can you trust him? Noah will ask Phyllis. But she'll ask if they get to stay or not. Noah will tell them to keep their distance from Sienna. Matt will say she defended him again and ask why. I'm not stupid, I don't trust you. Phyllis will apologize for hurting him. She likes their friendship. You are really hot and I think it kinda clouds my judgment, he'll reply. So Phyllis will say she'll go on a date with him. Meanwhile, Diane and Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, will walk into the Abbott estate. In the dining room, a bleeding Jack will grab the tablecloth from the table, trying to pull it, and its contents, off. He'll hear his son call out. Hey Dad, we're home, where are you? Diane and Kyle find Jack bleeding out. They'll hear a crashing sound and rush into the dining room. Diane and Kyle will find Jack bleeding out on the floor. Jack! Diane will shout, as she and their son rush to his side. Kyle will call 911 and be shocked to learn someone already called them. Diane will move the tablecloth on the floor and see a butcher knife covered in blood. Patty did this. She'll tell Kyle. What if she's still in the house? The paramedics and police will arrive and look after Jack. Kyle will tell the cops Patty stabbed his father and she may still be in the house somewhere. Then Detective Burrow, Matt Cohen, will walk in and Kyle will tell him what's happened. Upstairs, the cops will find Patty hiding behind the bed. Her arms will be covered in blood and she'll say Jack's wife Diane slashed her and stabbed Jack. Back downstairs, the paramedics will wheel an unconscious, but still alive, Jack out on a stretcher. Finally, Patty will come downstairs with the cops. She'll ask Burrow if Jack's okay and Diane will go ballistic. You did this, you crazy bitch. She'll shout at her. But Patty will tell Diane she's insane. Poor Jack, how could you do this to him? Diane will say she can't be serious, trying to blame this on her. Patty will continue her lie, that Diane came in and tried to kill them both. She'll say she escaped her therapist's care. She's got blood on her hands to prove it. But Diane will say she's insane and everything she's saying is a lie. And she needs to go see Jack. Patty will say she's going to the hospital to see Jack. Enough! Burrows will shout. Neither one of you are going anyplace until I can get to the bottom of this. To me, this feels like the beginning of a much darker and more dangerous arc that could change everything. Patty accuses Diane of stabbing Jack. Phyllis agrees to go on a date with Matt. The emergency room at Memorial Hospital had never felt so silent. Doctors and nurses rushed through the corridors while the Abbott and Newman families waited anxiously outside the operating room. Every passing second seemed heavier than the last. Jack Abbott had been stabbed. No one knew whether he would survive. Diane Jenkins sat against the wall, her hands stained with Jack's blood. She stared blankly at her trembling fingers, replaying the horrifying moment over and over again. If only I'd gotten there sooner. Kyle paced back and forth. This doesn't make sense, he muttered. Dad wasn't supposed to be at the house alone. Ashley folded her arms. Someone lured him there. Before anyone could respond, the hospital doors burst open. Patty Williams was escorted inside by 2 police officers. Although she wasn't under arrest, they refused to let her wander alone after finding her in a confused state near the crime scene. Patty's eyes immediately landed on Diane. She gasped dramatically. There she is. Everyone turned. Patty pointed a shaking finger directly at Diane. She's the one. Silence filled the hallway. Diane slowly stood. What are you talking about? You stabbed Jack. Kyle stepped between them. Enough. Patty laughed hysterically. You think I'm crazy because everyone always does, but this time I'm telling the truth. Diane's voice shook. I would never hurt Jack. Patty moved closer. You always wanted him all to yourself. Ashley narrowed her eyes. Patty. No. Patty interrupted. I saw Diane with the knife. Gasps echoed through the corridor. Detective Chance Chancellor, who had just arrived, immediately focused on Patty. You saw what? Patty nodded enthusiastically. I saw Diane holding the knife. Chance pulled out his notebook. Start from the beginning. Patty took a deep breath. I was outside. Everyone listened carefully. I heard shouting. What kind of shouting? Chance asked. Jack and Diane. Diane frowned. We argued earlier today, but that was hours before the attack. Patty ignored her. I peeked through the window. And? I saw Diane standing over Jack. Kyle interrupted. Standing over him after she found him. Patty shook her head. No. Her voice dropped to a whisper. She stabbed him. The accusation spread through the hallway like wildfire. Ashley looked toward Diane, uncertainty flashing across her face. Billy clenched his jaw. This is ridiculous. Chance remained calm. Did you actually see the knife enter Jack's body? Patty hesitated. Everyone noticed. I saw the knife. Chance repeated his question. But did you actually witness the stabbing? Patty blinked several times. I'm not sure. The confidence she'd shown moments earlier suddenly disappeared. Chance closed his notebook. Memory matters. Patty looked confused. I know what I saw. But did she? Even she no longer seemed certain. Across town, Phyllis Summers sat alone inside Crimson Lights. She stirred her coffee without drinking it. The past few weeks had exhausted her emotionally. Business struggles. Family drama. Jack's complicated marriage. Nothing seemed stable anymore. The bell above the cafe door rang. Matt entered. He spotted Phyllis immediately. Mind if I join you? She sighed. You're going to sit down whether I say yes or no. He smiled. Probably. He took the seat opposite her. I heard about Jack. Phyllis nodded. It's bad. I hope he survives. So do I. An awkward silence followed. Matt finally spoke again. You've been carrying everyone else's problems. She looked at him. When do you worry about yourself? She laughed softly. Never. That's the problem. Matt leaned forward. You deserve one normal evening. Phyllis smirked. In Genoa City? Fair point. He reached into his jacket. I actually came here for another reason. Oh. I'd like to take you to dinner. Phyllis nearly laughed. Seriously? Very. You picked the worst possible day. I know. So why ask? Because life keeps reminding us tomorrow isn't guaranteed. His words caught her off guard. For the first time all afternoon, she had no sarcastic comeback. Matt smiled gently. I'm not asking you to marry me. She chuckled. Good. I'm asking for dinner. She looked out the cafe window. Rain had begun falling. Maybe one evening away from chaos wouldn't be the worst idea. She turned back toward him. I have conditions. I'm listening. No business. Done. No talking about Jack every 5 minutes. Agreed. And if you bore me, I'll pay. She laughed again. You were already paying. Matt grinned. So. He extended his hand dramatically. Is that a yes? Several seconds passed. Finally, Phyllis placed her hand in his. It's a date. Back at Memorial Hospital. The operating room doors finally opened. The surgeon stepped outside. Every member of the Abbott family stood simultaneously. Doctor? The surgeon removed his mask. We managed to stop the bleeding. Diane covered her mouth. Kyle exhaled in relief. But everyone froze again. The next 24 hours will determine everything. Jack Abbott wasn't out of danger yet. And somewhere inside the hospital, Patty smiled to herself. Because she believed the real mystery had only just begun. The tension outside Jack Abbott's hospital room only grew stronger as the hours passed. Although the surgeons had managed to stop the bleeding, no one could predict whether Jack would wake up without complications. Every beep from the heart monitor reminded Diane just how close she had come to losing the man she loved. She refused to leave his bedside. Kyle quietly entered the room carrying 2 cups of coffee. You should get some rest. Diane shook her head. I'm not going anywhere. You've been here for hours. If Jack opens his eyes, I want the first face he sees to be mine. Kyle smiled sadly before placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. I know Dad would want that. Outside the room, however, Detective Chance Chancellor wasn't convinced that the case was as simple as Patty Williams claimed. Patty sat in an interview room at the police station, nervously twisting her fingers. Chance leaned forward. Patty, tell me exactly what happened after you heard Jack and Diane arguing. Patty closed her eyes. I saw someone inside the house. Who? I thought it was Diane. You thought? She hesitated. It all happened so fast. Chance slid several crime scene photographs across the table. The forensic team found only one set of bloody footprints leaving the room. Patty stared at the photos. Her confidence began fading. I don't remember. Chance noticed something important. Patty wasn't necessarily lying. She was confused. Her memory seemed fractured, almost as though fear had mixed reality with imagination. Meanwhile, Ashley Abbott wasn't ready to dismiss Patty's accusations completely. She met Billy in the hospital cafeteria. What if Patty saw something we didn't? Billy frowned. You actually believe Diane stabbed Jack? Ashley sighed. I don't know what to believe anymore. Billy shook his head. Patty has accused innocent people before. That's true. And Diane called the ambulance. Ashley looked down. I know. Billy continued. If Diane wanted Jack dead, why would she stay at the scene covered in his blood? Ashley had no answer. Across town, Phyllis prepared for her dinner with Matt. She stood in front of her closet, wondering why she had agreed in the first place. Maybe she needed a distraction. Maybe she was simply tired of living in constant crisis. When the doorbell rang, Summer smiled knowingly. So, you're actually going? Phyllis rolled her eyes. It's just dinner. Summer laughed. People don't spend 45 minutes choosing shoes for just dinner. Phyllis threw a pillow at her daughter. Get out. Summer caught it effortlessly. I like him. You barely know him. I know how you look when someone makes you smile. Phyllis became unusually quiet. It had been a long time since anyone had managed to do that. Later that evening, Matt arrived precisely on time. He handed Phyllis a single white rose. No pressure. She smiled. You actually brought flowers. I almost brought chocolates. You made the right choice. Their evening began at an elegant restaurant overlooking the city lights. For the first time in weeks, Phyllis wasn't discussing family drama, business rivalries, or old betrayals. Instead, they talked about travel, books, music, dreams they had postponed for years. Matt listened more than he spoke. Phyllis found herself relaxing. You know, she admitted, I forgot what a normal conversation feels like. Matt smiled. Then let's have another one next week. She raised an eyebrow. Already planning date number 2? I'm optimistic. Before she could answer, her phone vibrated. Kyle. The smile disappeared from her face. She answered immediately. What's wrong? Kyle sounded shaken. Jack just had another medical crisis. Phyllis stood up instantly. We're coming. Matt quietly placed money on the table before following her out. Back at Memorial Hospital, alarms echoed through the intensive care unit. Doctors rushed into Jack's room. Diane was forced into the hallway as nurses worked desperately to stabilize him. Ashley grabbed Diane's arm. What happened? I don't know. Kyle paced nervously. Victor Newman and Nikki soon arrived after hearing the news. Victor surveyed the frightened family. This wasn't random. Nick nodded. You think someone wanted Jack dead? Victor answered without hesitation. Absolutely. At that same moment, Chance received an urgent call from the crime lab. We found something unusual. What is it? The fingerprints on the knife don't belong to Diane. Chance immediately stood. Whose are they? The technician hesitated. That's the strange part. The prints don't match anyone currently in our database. Chance's eyes narrowed. So there's another suspect. As he left the station, Patty watched him through the window. A worried expression crossed her face. Had she accused the wrong person? Or had the real attacker carefully planned everything to make Diane look guilty? Somewhere in the shadows, an unknown figure watched Memorial Hospital from inside a parked car. The mysterious person slowly removed a pair of black leather gloves and whispered with a chilling smile. They're looking in the wrong direction.